Good morning. Welcome you all to the International Open University Research Sessions IOWS 2022. You have joined with the first parallel session of the online session 5 of the conference. We have got interesting research findings to be discussed in this session under the theme Agriculture. Let me first introduce our chairperson, Dr. S. Trikavala. He is one of the senior lecturers attached to the Department of Agricultural and Plantation Engineering, the Faculty of Engineering Technology, the Open University of Sri Lanka. Today, we have 6 presentations lined up with these paper IDs to be presented. Dear Sir, Dr. Trikavala, over to you.
Thank you very much and good morning to all of you. Well, as Sandrini said that there are 6 papers, and even though it is categorized under the broad category agriculture, I find there is a variety of paper. So if I briefly tell you that we have 2 papers on biofertilizers and their marketing strategies. And there is a paper based on a survey study that is related to COVID-19 pandemic and how the food wastage and the promotion of homegrown food happened during that period. And there is a experimental study of where they study on substituting salvinia instead of inorganic fertilizer phosphorus. And finally, we have 2 papers on biotechnology. So without much delay, I would like to invite the first presentation, and it is on assessing the constraints faced by the stakeholders along the supply chain to promote eco-friendly fertilizer use in paddy farming in Sri Lanka. And this paper is authored by R.H. Prabha Shaka and others. I'm not going to read them all. Well, I guess that the corresponding author, Prabha Shaka, is going to present the paper. Over to you, Prabha Shaka. Well, before that, I would like to tell you that there will, after each presentation, I will allow you about 2 to 3 questions. Okay, you can start.
Good morning everyone and welcome to my presentation. I am R.H. Prabha Shakya from Department of Agribusiness Management, Faculty of Agriculture and Plantation Management, Vayamba University of Sri Lanka. I am here today to present my research on the topic of assessing the constraints faced by stakeholders along the supply chain to promote eco-friendly fertilizer use in paddy farming in Sri Lanka. First, I'd like to give you an overview of paddy cultivation in Sri Lanka. The agriculture sector plays a significant role in Sri Lankan economy by contributing roughly 8.4% of the national GDP. Although traditional agriculture was mainly based on organic fertilizer, the rapid increment of population led to a food crisis, and it paved the path to consume chemical fertilizers as it proved higher yields than organic fertilizers. The continuous application of chemical fertilizers has decreased the soil fertility, creation and buildup of heavy metals of food chains, pollution of air and water. As a solution, the National Research Council of Sri Lanka has funded a multi-objective, multi-phase research project on eco-friendly technologies to lower chemical fertilizer usage. This project developed a single package of eco-friendly fertilizers which includes a biofertilizer and a slow-releasing urea fertilizer. Development of new product is not the end of this process. It is also important to assess the socio-economic aspects. Therefore, my research problem is What are the constraints faced by stakeholders along the eco-friendly fertilizer supply chain for paddy farming? This leads to my objective to assess the key constraints associated with the use of eco-friendly fertilizers from the perspective of the potential stakeholders. Let's now take a look at the methodology. First, I identified 25 constraint statements based on the literature, perceptions, and general concepts. Constraint statements outlining the various categories were incorporated into a questionnaire, and then data collection and analysis was done. Primary data was collected through a structured questionnaire which had two parts from 80 stakeholders around the country by online and face-to-face interviews during February to March 2022. Here you can see the 10-point Likert scale I used in the questionnaire. Then I'll move on to the data analysis methods. First, I did confirmatory factor analysis to verify the factor structure of the constraints. After all the data was coded, Cronbach's alpha method used to determine the scale reliability. The mean attribute scores were generated using the questionnaire. Finally, relative importance index used to rank the constraints according to stakeholder perception. The equation given in the slide used to calculate the relative importance index. Now that you are aware of the methodology, let's take a look at the results and discussion. Using the demographic profile part of the questionnaire, descriptive statistics were generated. As you can see here, majority were males and 67% of respondents were below 35 years old. 60% of them were postgraduates and there were extension officers, traders, farmers, experts, media and producers who had significant variation in the experience in the industry. Outcome of confirmatory factor analysis confirmed that the scale was internally consistent or reliable because all factors had the Cronbach's alpha value greater than 0.7. Kaiser-Meyer-Ockline test gives 0.625, which confirmed that the discrete factors can be generated because it exceeds the critical value of 0.5. Bartlett test of sphericity had a p-value of 0.00, which proved among the variables there were a pattern relationship. There were 7 significant factors as market, production, finance, information, government, institution, and health and environment. All the 25 constraint statements were grouped into those 7 factors as they had eigenvalue greater than 1 as shown in the table. The graph on this slide shows the outcome of mean attribute scores analysis. By aggregating all scores, aggregated mean attribute scores were derived. According to that, all the constraints presented were accepted as important by stakeholders. Highest scores were obtained for market and production related constraints. Comparatively lower aggregated mean attribute scores were obtained for government, institution, and health and environment factors. Now let's move on to the outcome of relative importance index analysis. Relative importance index values were calculated and transformed into 5 importance levels as high, high medium, medium, medium low, and low as given in this slide. This table indicates values obtained for relative importance index, and the constraints related to market factor had the highest overall ranking and a high importance levels. Also, finance related factors had high importance according to stakeholder point of view. Health and environment related constraints had the lowest overall ranking, which were then categorized into low importance level. I am now approaching to the conclusions of the study, as with respect to both mean attribute scores and relative importance index analysis, majority were concerned about market related factors, and health and environment constraints had the lowest scores. Agreeing to relative importance index, market and finance factors attribute heaviest for the stakeholder perception. By offering more opportunities in the market in terms of value chains and boosting the product awareness of the consumers, market-related factors can be mitigated. Government can encourage people to move from chemical fertilizers to eco-friendly technologies by offering the required pieces of training on handling EFTs, necessary subsidies, opportunities, and information networks. This stresses the necessity of developing the appropriate regulations that combines the government with the stakeholders along the supply chain to promote an effective use of these new products. Finally, I would gratefully acknowledge the National Research Council for the financial assistance and all the respondents of the survey for their valuable time and support. These are the references I used for the study. Well, this brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for a very nice presentation. Now the presentation is open for questions from the audience. Any questions from the audience? Okay, if that is the case, then I will have to raise the question. I'm just, it's a general question regarding this, the final recommendation. Can you bit elaborate that? How do you relate these government regulations with your study?
Government
Can you turn on your video, please?
Government can encourage them using some sort of advertising programs and training programs by Govijana Seva Centers and Department of Agriculture in cooperation. So I think from that, government can ensure to move from chemical fertilizers to eco-friendly fertilizers.
But you were talking about something about the regulation.
Yes.
Right? How can
regulation?
How can you regulate the usage of organic fertilizer among users or the marketing, whatever it is?
They can provide certifications to those fertilizers and necessary standards, so farmers will be more willing to use them when they have those certifications.
Okay, one more question. What is the reasoning that there is less importance on health and environmental aspects?
When we talk
when we talk with the farmers, due to the current situation in the country, they told the most important thing is their income. And when we educated them about the good advantages of using this, they think, no, we are really care about the market and finance. So.
Okay, thank you. So we will move to the next one. That is on push and pull factors boosting the demand and supply aspects of the market for eco-friendly plant nutrients in opposition to synthetic chemical fertilizers. And the paper is authored by Shiny and others, and I believe that Shiny is going to present the paper. Over to you, Shiny.
Good morning. I'm Shiny Vellalage from the Faculty of Agriculture and Plantation Management, Wamba University of Sri Lanka. Improving market conditions for eco-friendly plant nutrients over chemical fertilizers has become a timely important concern. So, this study was about push and pull factors boosting the demand and supply aspects of a market for eco-friendly plant nutrients in opposition to synthetic chemical fertilizers. When considered about the background of this study, excessive applications of synthetic chemical fertilizers in agriculture have seriously affected the well-being of humans and the environment. So, Eco-Friendly Technologies, a multidisciplinary project funded by the National Research Council of Sri Lanka, innovated eco-friendly fertilizer or eco-friendly plant nutrients, including slow release urea fertilizer and biofertilizer, as a solution to reduce chemical fertilizer usage. Therefore, the main objective of this study was to identify push-pull factors intrinsically and extrinsically that encourage the supply and demand of these fertilizers. Let's see how this study was conducted. Using a structured questionnaire, a sample of 90 stakeholders, including experts, producers, traders, farmers, extension officers and media personnel were selected through the purposive sampling method to obtain their responses during February to March 2022 using both modes of online and face-to-face interviews. Then, predefined 15 and 12 statements on push and pull factors respectively were identified or evaluated using a 10-point Likert scale as given in here, ranging from extremely demotivate to extremely motivate. Data analysis was mainly carried out according to descriptive statistics, exploratory factor analysis and canonical correlation analysis using SPSS statistical software. What were the results that I obtained from this study? Descriptive statistics. The majority of the sample were male, employed and post-postgraduate qualification. Key findings expressed that majority of the sample were aware of eco-friendly fertilizer and stated that commercialization of eco-friendly fertilizer would be effective by involving both the government and private sector as a percentage of 77.8. The outcome of exploratory factor analysis. According to the results obtained for Cronbach's alpha and chirosamine alkene measure, they indicated that the scale is reliable and the sample is adequate. Bartlett's test of 0.0 indicated that the study's variable had a pattern relationship. Then, 4 significant factors for each push and pull categories were identified using principal axis factoring, which was carried out to evaluate the unidimensionality of constructs. Then, mean attribute score values obtained for push-pull statements were given in this figure. Absence of negative values depicted that all statements related to push supply side and pull demand side for eco-friendly fertilizer were accepted by the respondents. As per values obtained from the aggregated mean attribute score, the first three highest score statements on push factors come under the category of product quality with technology adoption and environmental consideration. Having highest mean attribute score on obtaining a fair price, considering the soil health, reducing the release of toxic waste compared to chemical fertilizer could be considered as the most important factors when push an eco-friendly fertilizer to the customers. As per values obtained from the aggregated mean attribute score, pull factors related to promotional events and legal aspects was equally important after the factors related to market potential to enhance the consumer's demand for eco-friendly fertilizers. Considering the external and internal nature of these categories, product quality with technology adoption was the most weighted extrinsic push factor, while market potential was the most weighted extrinsic pull factor. Intention of consumers was the most dependent intrinsic pull factor. The outcome of canonical correlation analysis. To analyze the strength of association between push-pull factors, canonical covariates were used. Out of 12 canonical variates, 5 significant variates were identified. The variate pairs with the Stewart-Love redundancy index greater than 2% were selected for further analysis. Then, 3 most important variate pairs were identified using canonical loadings greater than 0.4. In this table, briefly describe the proportion of variance explained by the push item itself and pull items as 60% and 40% respectively. 70% of variance could be explained by pull item itself and 30% explained by push items. Conclusion. In the conclusion of this study, the supply and demand side of eco-friendly fertilizers can be boosted by pushing and pulling extrinsic factors and intrinsic factors. Pull items related to market potential, legal aspects, and consumer intention are strongly dependent on push items related to product quality with technology adoption. Finally, this study suggests that proper regulations and market opportunities should be implemented with the presence of regulatory bodies by changing farmers' attitudes to enhance social, economic, and environmental status. These were the references that I used for my study. Furthermore, the authors acknowledged the financial assistance to conduct this research from the National Research Council of Sri Lanka and all respondents who participated in this study. I think these findings will be help to understand what kind of factors should focus on when promoting eco-friendly fertilizers. So, this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Once again, thank you very much for a nice presentation. And this is open for discussion now. Any question from the audience? Well, it seems that these two papers are quite similar, and when I look at the authors, except the corresponding author, the others are same. So I think that this research were done together. Okay, then what is the next step of what is the way forward?
Good afternoon. I think I'm audible to all of you. First of all, I think the next step should be the commercialization of this kind of eco-friendly fertilizer, because at the moment some of the farmers already use those kind of fertilizers, but some farmers are not well aware of this kind of fertilizer. So through this study, I found out that the product quality with technology adoption and some market potential should be improved. For example, when we talk about the farmers, talk with the farmers, they already said that if they have some kind of a standard fertilizer product, they will definitely would like to buy. So I think this study will help to uplift the state of that kind of a market, fertilizer market, to promote eco-friendly fertilizer than the synthetic chemical fertilizers.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we can move on to the next presentation now. That is impact of COVID-19 on consumer food waste and homegrown food, a case study in Kalutara district, Sri Lanka. And this paper is authored by TUD Piris and AMMU Adhikari, and I think it is presented by Piris. Over to you, Piris.
Hello everyone, I'm TUD Piris from Wamba University of Sri Lanka. Due to COVID-19, food supply chains are disrupted and fear occurs in the people's mind regarding the food shortages. This caused panic buying and the over-preparation. This is cause for the food wastage. However, the direction of how these changes influence on the consumer waste in Sri Lanka is not clear. And on the other hand, due to the travel restriction, higher food prices, and food shortages, the food security was affected. So people are motivated to grow their own fruits and vegetables in their home garden. Government also gives support for the home garden. So, understanding the impact of COVID-19 on consumer food waste generation and home gardening is important because it improves the food security in Sri Lanka. So, my objective is to identify how consumer food waste generation and self-growing practices have changed during the COVID-19 pandemic compared to the before pandemic situation in the Kalutara district. So, my study was based on the survey in the Kalutara district. Kalutara district is one of the most affected districts. It was convenient to access respondents in the Kalutara district. So, I distributed a questionnaire via in-person interview, telephone conversation, and using internet platform. The questionnaire contains socio-demographic data, extent of the consumer food waste before and during the pandemic, consumer food waste behavior changes during the pandemic, and the effect of COVID-19 on consumer attitudes, and the extent of self-grown food. The data was analyzed using the descriptive statistic chi-square test and the Wilcoxon sign rank test using the SPSS statistic software. The sample was consists 264 participants, which are represent variety of socio-economic status. The majority of respondents were female, and the majority were within the age range of 18 to 29. 34.8 participants were earned around 50,000 to 1 lakh, and the majority were from the Panadharat area. And there is a change in the income during the pandemic situation. And also, the majority of our respondents have higher education. Okay, then let's see how the COVID-19 affect on the food waste generation. 65% of respondents stated that no food was discarded during the pandemic. But before the pandemic, large majority was discarded, about half of the food they prepared for the consumption. According to the Wilcoxon sign rank test, there is a median differences between the amount of food waste generation before and during the pandemic. According to the chi-square test, there was a significant association between the amount of food waste generation before the pandemic based on the age, number of family members, and the average income level. And also, respondents were asked to estimate the total percentage of food they throw away by the categories, expressed as the percentage of the total amount of their purchase. These two figures compare the food waste generation in these food categories before and after the pandemic. Vegetable was the most wasted food category during both before and during the pandemic. This caused due to the improper handling packaging of the fruits and vegetables in the Sri Lanka. According to the Wilcoxon Sign Rank test, it was confirmed that there was a significant median differences in the waste generation in food categories such as cereal, bread and baked goods, vegetable, fruits, roots and tubers, fish and fish products, and the meat and meat products and the confectionery products. Shows the reason for the food waste generation. 31.3% respondents claimed that the reason for the food waste generation was cooking in excess. Only 5.4% respondents claimed that overbuying as the major reason. In this figure shows that 87.3% participants used some strategies to reuse their leftover. Around 29.5% of respondents feed their animals by using the leftover. 70.8% recycle their leftover by composting. Only 12.7% of the respondents discard their leftover. When compared the main location before and during the pandemic, the Wilcoxon Sign Rank test was used. There was a significant median differences between the method of buying groceries before and after the pandemic. There was an increase in the using online shopping and the home delivery during the pandemic compared to the before pandemic situation. And the qualitative rating was requested regarding the food waste generation behavior changes during the pandemic compared to the 2019. To investigate how the pandemic affected people's behavior regarding the food waste, a series of chi-square tests were done. The amount of food waste generation decreased with the amount of food purchase, frequency of shopping, food expenses, unintentional purchases, amount of food cooked was reducing, and also the amount of food waste generation is decreased with increasing in the concern about labeling, cooking at home. Okay, let's move on to the homegrown food. Among the participants, only 73.86 were engaging in the home gardening. Among them, 33.8 started gardening as a result of COVID-19. And there was a significant association between the engaging in the home gardening during the pandemic with the age, education, number of children, and the family income. And also, 54.40% of the gardeners claim that they get around 10% of their food from the home gardening, and there was an association between the length of the gardening and the contribution of the home gardening to the monthly food consumption. The gardeners who do the gardening more than 10 years get the 50% of their monthly produce consumptions from their home gardening. So this figure shows the reasons for the home growing. So the main reason for the home growing is to access the fresh fruits. Around 30.6% claim that they do gardening to access the fresh foods, and majority of the gardeners consume their harvest by themselves, and around 21.13% share with the others, and the majority of the gardeners use backyard for the gardening purposes, and 75.3% of gardeners were hoping to continue the gardening even after the pandemic situation. So I can conclude that the COVID-19 caused the respondent to strive towards the reducing the food waste and increasing the consuming homegrown food. Respondents have developed some positive behavior to reduce the food waste generation, so the government should impose the penalties and the regulation to reduce the food waste generation. The citizen awareness should be increasing using the campaign and the communication media, so that will help to improve the food security in Sri Lanka. Further studies can do do using a large sample size which fully represents the Sri Lanka and using the quantitative measurements of the food waste during the pandemic and on how food waste varied with the attitudes and the behavior, so we can get the inside knowledge regarding the food waste generation. So this is the end of my presentation. I extend my sincere gratitude for the Ms. AMMU Adhikari, the Senior Lecturer of the Department of the Food Science and Technology, and Dr. AGB Arugoda and the IOURS Organizing Committee, and who have participated in my study, my dear parents, colleges, and those who support to complete my research successfully. Those are some references I have used in my research studies, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Pires. Well, again, the paper is open for discussion. Any questions from the audience? Somebody, please. So, okay, I have one methodological question. When you look at the reasons for growing, did you look at the household that you tested together, or just separately? Those who have started home gardening after the COVID pandemic?
No, sir, I am asking together, and
So how then how do you rule it out? That is because of COVID.
sir, I'm asking about whether they are starting the home growing as a result of COVID or not, and I asking the length of the growing period, as well as I asking regarding whether the home gardening increases, like those things.
Okay. So what is the take-home message of your study?
So in the COVID-19 period, our behavior so much changed. So it somewhat positive behavior occurred when regarding the consumer waste and the home gardening. So we should carry on that behavior. So it will help to overcome the food security concern occurred during this period also.
The thing is that during the COVID-19, everybody was at home because of the restrictions. So they had time to do so. So do you think that it will continue forever?
So, but for the food waste generation, it can be continued because we can consider, we can reduce our waste.
I'm talking about the home gardening.
Yes, but when consider about the home gardening, it can be little much lower with regard to the COVID-19. But if we, those who are start the gardening at that period, most of the respondents told that they want to carry on that behavior after the COVID-19 also.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
We'll
sir.
move on to the next one. The next paper is on use of Salvinia molesta as a phosphorus source on the growth.
Good afternoon. The title of this study is Use of Salvinia molesta as a phosphorus source on the growth performance of rice. We all know that the growth of plant depends on two types of nutrients such as macronutrients and micronutrients. Phosphorus is one of the macronutrient which is essential element for the growth of plants. However, phosphorus is available in land in a limited amount. Therefore, demand of phosphorus is increasing with the global demand for food. We all know that rice, Oryza sativa, is a staple food in many Asian countries, and phosphorus fertilizer is applied into paddy field at the beginning of the session, as phosphorus is highly required for the early growth stage of the rice plant. If phosphorus is deficient, it delays plant development and shows phosphorus deficiency symptoms. Therefore, to overcome the phosphorus deficiency to the paddy fields, we have to move to economical friendly plant-based phosphorus fertilizers. Salvia mollusta is one of the aquatic plants which shows rapid uptake of phosphorus as well as nitrogen from wastewater-based systems. On the other hand, decomposition of Salvinia mollusta releases growth-promoting substance of cytokinin which enhances the tillering in rice. Then, the objectives of this study were to determine the growth performance of the rice plant using Salvinia mollusta as its phosphorus source and to compare the effectiveness of Salvinia mollusta on the rice growth with the commercially used triple superphosphate. Preparation of Salvinia powder. In this experiment, first, Salvinia plants were allowed to grow with cattle farm effluent until it saturated with phosphorus. Thereafter, Salvinia plants were dried and grinded to a powder. Preparation of soil pots. As a second step, 20 soil containing pots were prepared with identical physical conditions. Plantation. Meanwhile, Oryza sativa seeds were soaked and spreaded in a sand pot. Next, 3 nursery plants were introduced to each prepared soil pot. Let's see how to introduce the treatments to the pots. You can see the treatment chart here in table 1 with 4 treatments. In the treatment 1, it consists of urea, muriate of potash and triple superphosphate. Here you can see in the treatment 2, Salvinia powder was added instead of triple superphosphate. Treatment 3 is the control without adding any phosphorus fertilizer. Treatment 4 is the blank without adding any treatments. Table 2 shows the standard proportions of treatment components per pot area. The height of the plant, number of leaves, width of leaves and number of tillers per plant in every 2 weeks from the day after planting were taken. After recommended time period by Department of Agriculture, plants were harvested and the root and shoot dry weight were recorded. Total phosphorus concentration after followed by wet digestion and available phosphorus concentration in shoot, root and soil were analyzed separately using the ascorbic acid blue method. In this method, ammonium molybdate and potassium antimony tartrate react in an acid medium with dilute solutions of orthophosphate to form an intense blue colored antimony phosphomolybdate complex. The absorber was recorded at 750 nanometer using the UV visible spectrometer. Finally, data were analyzed by Minitab 17 statistical package. This table shows the initial soil parameters. The available phosphorus after harvesting in T1 soil treated with triple superphosphate was higher than all the other treatments and the initial measured available phosphorus in soil. Here You can also see the pictures of growth of Oryza sativa with the different time intervals. First graph shows the average length of Oryza sativa for different treatments with time intervals. Here you can see the length of the rice plant gradually increases with the time. As all the set of data were normally distributed, one-way ANOVA was used to compare the treatments. There was no any significant difference among the three treatments T1, T2 and T3. They are significantly higher than the blank. Here, different letters indicate the significant difference among the treatments. Second graph shows the dry weight of shoot and root separately after recommended time period of harvest date. One-way ANOVA was also used here and there was no any significant difference among T1, T2 and T3. These are higher than the blank. Here you can see the tables of percentage of fertilized seeds, mean values of number of tillers and leaves. The number of tiller and the number of leaves were almost equal in T1, T2 and T3 treatments compared to T4. However, the treatment T3 showed significantly higher yield than T1, T2 and T4 and there was no significant difference between triple super phosphate added treatment and the Salvinia added treatment, while T3 without the addition of any phosphate fertilizer showed the highest percentage of yield. The amount of phosphorus available in control soil is more than enough to grow the plant and the addition of urea which supplies nitrogen. Therefore, it seems to be important to conduct the future studies to find out the combined effect of nitrogen and phosphorus. Conclusion. Salvinia plants enriched by phosphorus collected from farm effluent can be effectively used as substitute for triple superphosphate for Oryza sativa. Control plants show a comparatively higher yield than the phosphorus fertilizer contained in treatments. Therefore, future studies to be recommended to determine the combined effect of nitrogen and phosphorus to growth of the Oryza sativa. There are the references that are used for this experiment. Finally, I would like to thank National Institute of Fundamental Studies to give me the facility to conduct this study. Thank you.
Questions from the audience? Okay, again, I have to ask the questions once again. Well, what is the purpose of having this T4 treatment?
Sorry, sir.
What is the purpose of having this T4 treatments, blank?
Yes, sir. T4 is a blank. In this research, we focus on the growth performance of rice using Salvinia powder enriched with phosphorus as instead of triple superphosphate. That's we use a blank to compare the effectiveness of Salvinia powder enriched with phosphorus and triple superphosphate and without any phosphorus fertilizers.
Well, so your conclusion is that finally that you can replace inorganic phosphorus with Salvinia. That's right.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we use only for experiment.
Without T4 treatment, you could have obtained that one, as I understand.
Yes, we use only the pot experiment. Triple super. We can use only the pot experiment instead of triple super phosphate. But in the feed, we further researchers we move on to the feed and use Salvinia powder enriched with phosphorus instead of TSP.
Anyway, have you done any cost calculations?
Yes, sir, we also have any phosphorus calculations. I mean, the available phosphorus conservation.
No, cost calculation.
No, sir, no any cost calculations.
Whether it is profitable to use Salvinia over triple superphosphate, because so there is a process going on. You have to prepare the powder, you have to find the material and etc. So if there is a cost incurred, so I think if you are continuing this study, it's better to look at that aspects as well, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
One more question, sir.
Sorry?
Can I ask? One more question,
sure.
can I ask?
Sure, go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, why did you particularly chose this Salvinia molesta plant?
Yes, there are more aquatic plants. I mean, both and the Salvinia flores and other Salvinia molesta and others. But more researchers are going on the water hyacinth. But there are limited references in Salvinia molesta. That's why we use Salvinia molesta plant. And on the other hand, in Sri Lanka, Salvinia more available in Salvinia plants, and Salvinia plant is more rapidly. That's why we use.
Okay, one more comment. When you are, showing your data, analyze data in a graph, it's better if you could indicate what are shown in different colors, especially in your bar chart. There were T1, T2, T3 treatments in 2 colors, but you haven't mentioned what are indicated by those 2 colors. Okay, so when you are illustrating your results, analyze data, it is better if you could mention those as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Okay, thank you for the comment, Dr. Sandani. Right, we can move on to the next one. That is on evaluating best surface sterilization method and hormone combination for shoots initiation of Zingibera officiale. This paper is authored by L.C. Perera and A.G.B. Arugoda, and I believe that L.C. Perera is going to present the paper. Over to Perera.
I am L.C. Perera. I am going to present my research on evaluating best surface sterilization and hormone combination for shoots initiation of Zingibera officinale. This research was conducted at Biotechnology Laboratory, Department of Agricultural and Plantation Engineering of the Open University of Sri Lanka under supervision of Dr. A.G.B. Arugoda. Ginger is the main crop used in this study due to its medicinal and commercial value. Ginger in vitro propagation is more beneficial than vegetative propagation. However, the initial establishment of contamination-free culture is difficult owing to the exposure of rhizomes to various soil pathogens. The present study is an attempt to develop a successful protocol for sterilization and regeneration of plantlets from ginger buds with the idea of developing a commercial protocol for ginger in vitro propagation. Therefore, there are 2 objectives in this study: evaluating the best surface sterilization method for ginger buds and best hormonal combination for shoot multiplication during in vitro propagation. In this study, plant material selection, explant preparation, media preparation, pre-treatment, surface sterilization, inoculation, and incubation of culture are main steps that followed. Basic Mushige and Skog medium were prepared using stock solution. In media preparation, in explant preparation, healthy and mature rhizomes of ginger were collected from the farms located in low country based zone. In pre-treatment, fully cleaned buds from mature healthy rhizomes were immersed in Captain fungicide with few drops of T-Pol detergent for 30 minutes and washed 4 to 5 times in distilled water to remove the traces of the disinfectants. In surface sterilization, clean buds were separately immersed in sterilization agent with a time. 4 drops of 2020 was added to each one and agitated by hand for 30 minutes. Then expands were in separate treatments washed 4 to 5 times using sterile distilled water to remove the traces of bleaching powder and ethanol. In inoculation process, after removing outer layers of the buds, sterilized expands were trimmed up to 2 to 3 centimeters and inoculated into jars containing 30 milliliter basic Murshiga and scoop medium under aseptic condition. In incubation and culture condition, the cultures were incubated at 26 Celsius with 16-hour photoperiod time. In this first table shows the treatment combination of sterilizing agents and their concentration. It includes sterilized distilled water and 70% ethanol, 75% ethanol, 80% ethanol with 10% bleaching, 20% bleaching and 30% bleaching separately. Table 2 present hormone combination of the treatments added for shoot multiplication. When describing physical analysis and statistical analysis, in physical analysis of evaluating best surface sterilization method, done by recording visible contamination and survival percentage of expands and shoots after in vitro culture for 3 weeks. The main parameter used in this is survival rate. In evaluating the best hormone combination for shoot multiplication, data was taken on the following parameters: number of buds, shoot length, number of leaves and leaf length. In statistical analysis, experiment was conducted in completely randomized design with 10 treatments including control in surface sterilization and 15 treatments including control in hormone combination with 5 replicates for each treatment. Data analysis was done by ANOVA one-way analysis using Minitab 17 software and Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. Means were compared by the least significant differences. Results and discussion of the evaluation of the best surface sterilization method. In this table shows the mean survival rate of ginger buds after surface sterilization with different concentration of ethanol and bleaching solution. In this, highest survival rate can be seen in 70% ethanol with 20% bleaching powder, and the lowest survival rate can be seen in sterilized distilled water and 70% ethanol with 10% bleaching powder. This slide shows the pictures of contaminated cultures, survived cultures, and survived and non-contaminated jar with shoot respectively. Results and discussion of evaluating the best hormonal combination for shoot formation. In this figure shows the influence of benzyl aminopurine and naphthalene acetic acid on number of bud, shoot and shoot length after 3 weeks of culture. In this, highest number of shoots resulted in treatment 10 and the lowest number of shoot resulted in treatment 2, treatment 11, treatment 13, treatment 14 and treatment 15. And also highest shoot length resulted in treatment 13 and the lowest shoot length resulted in treatment 9. In this, results showed highest shoot formation can be obtained by using hormone combination over benzyl aminopurine hormone alone. These pictures represent the early stage of expand after 3 days, shoot formation after 2 weeks, and ginger shoot with leaves after 3rd week from left to right. In the conclusion, as per results of present study, the best saline combination for sterilization of ginger is 75% ethanol with 20% bleaching solution. These results were used for the hormone combination procedure for Service sterilization protocol. From the results, 5 mg per liter benzyl aminopurine with 0.25 mg per liter naphthalene acetic acid hormone combination shows the best for in vitro bud shoot formation. And also, this study showed the locally available bleaching powder in the form of a solution can be used as low-cost sterilizing agent rather than using ethanol and commercial bleaching solution as the service steriline agents. These are the several references that are used in this study. Thank you for listening.
Sir, could you please unmute the mic?
Yeah. Okay, questions, please. I think, or comments? Dr. Sandani, do you have any comments?
Yes, actually, it was really surprising to know that about 10% concentration of bleaching powder can be used for sterilization agent, because normally we are using nearly 1 to 2%. Concentration of bleaching powder in our research activities, especially in plant pathology, isolation of plant pathogens. But these results show that this much of concentration is effective for sterilization, but I don't know whether it effectively work on in our cases in the sterilization means isolation of pathogens. But for tissue culture, yes, it had worked. Nice finding.
Any response from Pereira, Miss Pereira? Can you turn on your video, please?
Yes, sir. In this, I use the bleaching powder for to reduce the low cost as a low cost method. So yeah, I think it is. I did good job for this study.
Sorry, I couldn't get you finally.
I think I did good study in this research to make the best sterilizing protocol and best hormone combination.
Okay, you think so, right? Well, I think when you are preparing the slides, you have to be you must give some effort, because this is a national conference, and if you follow the previous presenters' slides, they were well organized, right? But in your case, I found that that is not that good, right? So in future presentations, look at those aspects as well, please, right? Okay, we can move to the next one.
Thank you, madam.
I am Hansika. Welcome everyone. Now I am presenting my research presentation. My research title is Evaluate the best sterilization method and the hormonal combination for in vitro propagation of Curcuma longa.
Oh, sorry, I think I have muted my. So the next paper is about evaluate the best sterilization method and the hormonal combination for in vitro propagation of Curcuma longa, that is turmeric. And this paper is authored by MD.S. Hansika and AGB Arugada. And I think Ms. Hansika is going to present the paper. Over to you, Ms. Hansika.
I am Hansika. Welcome everyone. Now I am presenting my research
Can we have the presentation, please?
Title is Evaluate the best sterilization method and the hormonal combination for in vitro propagation of Curcuma longa turmeric. My research was carried out at the Biotechnology Laboratory, the Department of Agriculture.
I'm sorry, I cannot hear anything.
Sri Lanka. Curcuma longa turmeric is a herbaceous perennial.
Sir, it is the maximum volume, sir.
Oh, yeah.
It's playing.
I cannot hear anything.
Central America. Curcuma longa is grown in wet and intermediate zone in Sri Lanka.
What shall we do?
Sir, yeah, it is an issue with the recording, I guess, sir. That is the maximum volume we could play here.
So we just let it go and see. Okay.
Okay, sir, let's do so.
Growing new plants. After banning importing turmeric, annual production is not enough for consumption as well as.
Dr. Pekawala, if you increase your computer sound, you can listen it. I can listen now. Make it now.
I tried that way as well.
Under with this microphone mute button, there is an up arrow. Try from there.
Okay, try that one.
When consider the methodology, first step is collecting the healthy disease-free rhizome of turmeric from mother plant. The next step is cleaning explant by using detergent and fungicide. Next step is sterilizing basic tissues in laminar flow cabinet under aseptic conditions. In their surface, sterilizing by using different disinfectants for sterilization method determining. And next step is inoculating sterilized basic tissues onto MS medium supplemented with different hormonal combinations. Finally, sealed nutritional media bottles I am Hansika. Sterilization method and the hormonal combination for in vitro propagation of Curcuma longa turmeric. My research was carried out at the Biotechnology of Sri Lanka. Curcuma longa turmeric is a herbaceous perennial plant belonging to the family Zingiberaceae. Turmeric is grown in India, Pakistan, Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, Japan, Sri Lanka, China, Africa, and Central America. Curcuma longa is grown in wet and intermediate zone in Sri Lanka. Major growing areas are Kurunegala, Gampaha, Kalutara, Kandy, Kegol, and Matale districts in Sri Lanka. The rhizome of turmeric is used as a spice, Ayurvedic medicine, condiment, cosmetic, coloring agent, flavoring agent, and for growing new plants. After banning importing turmeric, annual production is not enough for consumption as well as to use as seeds for the next season. Micropropagation of turmeric is an option to increase the seed production. The present study is important to find the best sterilization method and the best hormonal combinations for the success in vitro propagation of turmeric. When consider the methodology, First step is collecting the healthy disease-free rhizome of turmeric from mother plant. The next step is cleaning explant by using detergent and fungicide. Next step is sterilizing basic tissues in laminar flow cabinet under aseptic conditions. In their surface, sterilizing by using different disinfectants for sterilization method determining. And next step is inoculating sterilized basic tissues onto MS medium supplemented with different hormonal combinations. Finally, sealed nutritional media bottles for consumption as well as to use as seeds for season. Important to find combinations for the success in vitro propagation of turmeric. When consider the methodology, first step is collecting the healthy disease-free rhizome of turmeric from mother plant. The next step is cleaning explant by using detergent and fungicide. Next step is sterilizing basic tissues in laminar flow cabinet under aseptic conditions. In their surface, sterilizing by using different disinfectants for sterilization method determining. And next step is inoculating sterilized basic tissues onto MS medium supplemented with different hormonal combinations. Finally, sealed nutritional media bottles
What shall we do? Miss Deepika.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, I also. Can we ask?
Sir, that's the whole video available here. Now we are trying to see whether we have got a.
Yeah,
Yeah, in the drive also the same, sir.
Yeah, Chandani, if there is a ask the technical person, Janit, to find whether there is a presentation slides.
Okay, madam.
Then she can explain it. No, we can move the slides and she can manually just lively because we have enough time.
I think we have gone through a certain amount of the slides actually. So what we can do is we can ask some questions from her, right? And conclude it, right? Is that okay?
Okay, okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, this is Miss Hansika. Can you turn on your video, please?
Sir.
Yeah. Can you turn on your video?
Yeah, I think can you just brief, just without the slide, simply brief your research, then we can get the things. Hansika, in 1 or 2 minutes, just brief your. What did you do? Simply.
Madam.
What is your objective?
Well, I think if we have any questions, we can ask right now. Okay. any clarifications or questions regarding the procedures or whatever, the abstract should be there, right? So there was a technical fault. That's
Sorry, sir. Slides also are not available in the relevant drives, sir.
Sorry, Dr. Sandhani.
Slides are also not available, sir.
So
It
they were
seems that they have not
available.
submitted. Yeah, sir.
So I saw the slides.
Slides means, sir, that is the video recording.
That's the video.
Yeah, we try to go with the slides also, the PPT slides, but they are not also available. So the author can brief as Ms. Deepika asked. No?
Because Dr. Trikavala don't know whether other participants got the idea. Because
Okay. Yeah. Can you just tell us then what is your research problem, objectives, and your conclusions?
yeah, simply.
Yeah, simply.
Very briefly.
My research is turmeric. My research objective is turmeric sterilization method and hormonal combination finding with turmeric banning importing problems. I suggest to develop the turmeric planting for the consumption. So normally, turmeric rhizomes used for consumption and for growing. Then I use tissue culture for growing new plants. It is beneficial for planting many plants. As therefore, tissue culture, turmeric sterilization method and hormonal combination is important for tissue culture. Therefore, I try to find best sterilization method and hormonal combination for turmeric rhizome micropropagation.
Okay, Dr. Buddhika, can you add? Do you have anything to add there?
Hello.
Yeah.
Dr. Kavala, actually, when we checked last time, the presentation we found is this stage. So I have advised her to upload the new recording. There is something problem with that, I think that uploading maybe. So she has done that and find the, she went through serial.
Dr. Buddhika,
Yes.
She was briefing the study. I was asking whether you have anything to add to that one. I know there are technical problems are there that we have to forget that one right now. So regarding
that, yeah, she has found actually the best for micropropagation, best results, and she got good results from exactly. I can't remember what is the optimum the range she has got the best results. Ansika, can you explain little your method
Hydrogen
results? Hydrogen
for
peroxide,
sterilization of
and
hydrogen
concentration?
peroxide 80% and ethanol
combination became the best sterilization. It became the best.
Yes,
she found it as the best for sterilization. And for hormonal combination, what is the results you obtain as the best?
2 milligram per liter BAP hormone and 0.5 milligram per liter NAA hormone.
Nucleic acid as the best for shoot induction, no? So she did that
Yes, ma'am.
up to that, and then she has to go through the root initiation and then multiplication later. Thank
Dr.
you.
Sandhi, do you have any comments or questions? Because I'm not very familiar with this biotechnology stuff.
Yes, it's also somewhat similar to the previous study. Yeah, can you please tell me what is the best? I mean, did you check something like the previous one with some concentrations of bleaching powder or something here also? Because the presentation or the video was not clear. Sorry for having to ask this. So what is the best sterilization method you suggest here?
80% ethanol combined with 4% hydrogen peroxide.
Hydrogen peroxide, okay.
Oh.
4%, no?
Yes.
Okay, it is quite a low volume than the low concentration than the previous, maybe because of directly the hydrogen peroxide. So did you check the hormonal concentrations as well, no? What was the optimum one? Auxin and some other hormone you had checked, right? Hello.
Hello.
Yes, what was the best hormonal concentration? Did you check that also? Yes, you had checked, no?
Can you answer, Hansani?
Benzene, aminopurine as hormone and naphthalene acidic hormone I used.
Yes, what was the best combination?
Best combination BAP 2 milligram per liter and NAA 0.5 milligram per liter.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments or observations? Questions in general from all any of the presentations? Okay, I think we have 5 more minutes. Well, I think we had despite the technical difficulties we have came across during the last presentation, we had a very good session, and they were very good papers. I think, and I congratulate all the authors for their efforts, and I mean who made to come to this level, and I encourage them to further going into the next level and publishing them in a journal or somewhere as a full paper. This is a extended abstract, as I guess. So we had quite a variety of papers, and first 2 papers actually very interesting, and it involves good analysis, stuff like econometric analysis, and maybe contribute to the policy level, and I hope that the other the paper on this salvinia, I think the authors do the cost calculation, then again if it is profitable to use salvinia than phosphorus, then it's going to be a very good study, and all those findings I think will contribute to the upgrade our scientific knowledge and make do a value addition. And once again, thank you very much for all the authors and those who contributed in the discussion actively. And all in all, I think it's a very fruitful session, and thank you very much for the organizers and for giving me this opportunity to chair the session. I really enjoyed it. Thank you. Shall we conclude the session? Hello.
Hello, thank you very much, Dr. Pitavala. Yeah, okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.